Hello, my beautiful friends. It's Aunt Mimi. It's Friday, Friday, Friday. Yeah, it's Friday. Um, Today I'm gonna read DuckTales. Woo! DuckTales. Woo! I don't remember all the words to the song, obviously, but DuckTales is pretty cool. So I'm gonna read it to you. This is The Secret City Under the Sea. So there must be more episodes. Oh no! Oh no! Well, that is. I should have looked at this book before turning on the camera. Bummer. That's the risk you take when you get used children's books. Rats. Well, I can imagine that Scrooge. This is Scrooge, and he's talking to his nephews. Yes, they are his nephews. They're hanging out in their backyard, and it sounds like he found some really interesting news in the newspaper, and he's can't believe his eyes while his mouth is open. They found out something really interesting. So I'm just gonna start from where I can read. Where did it come from? Asked Dewey as the nephews gathered around Scrooge. Nobody knows, said Scrooge. The only clue is the engraving on the coin. It says Atlantis 1888 AS. Now I wonder what that means. Let's look Atlantis up in our Junior Woodchuck Guide, said Huey. The boys raced off to get the book. So a special coin was found, I think. Louis read aloud from the guide. No one knows if Atlantis ever really existed, or if it is just a legend. Atlantis is said to be an island whose inhabitants created a very advanced scientific kingdom. Centuries ago, Atlantis suddenly sank into the ocean to become a fabulous undersea city, rich in gold, but no one has ever discovered exactly where it's located. Rich in gold! Scrooge's eyes lit up. But what does 1888 AS mean? Maybe it means 1888 years after sinking, Louis suggested. Do you think Atlantis still exists, Uncle Scrooge? Asked Dewey. I must find out, said Scrooge. If Atlantis exists, it must have gold. Everyone knows how Scrooge loves his gold. Scrooge and the boys went to the daring inventor Gyro Gearloose for help in searching out Atlantis. Well, Gyro said thoughtfully, if this Atlantis is underwater, I'd better make you a deep-sea submarine. After 2 hours of hammering and fitting metal pieces together, Gyro declared that the sub was ready to go. Wow, only 2 hours to build a submarine? Seems like that would take a lot longer than that. He's fast. The boys helped Scrooge haul a heavy sack into the Atlantis Explorer. The sack was filled with gold in case they ran into any unusual expenses along the way to Atlantis. Gyro sealed the hatch and started the engine. The sub dived beneath the water. The undersea adventure had begun. They plunged down into the dark depths of the sea. Strange fish darted around them. The deeper they dived, the darker and more mysterious the sea grew. Turn on the spotlight, Scrooge said to Gyro. Aye, aye, said Gyro as he snapped on the spotlight control. Zap, zap! Explosions burst out in front of the sub. Instead of a light bulb, Gyro had mistakenly put a laser into the spotlight. Its powerful beam was blowing up rocks and shells on the seabed. Gyro finally found the switch and turned it off. As the water cleared, the crew looked around the sub's porthole and gasped. It was Atlantis! Looks kind of cool. The famed city of ancient legend lay there glowing under a giant clear dome that rested on the sea floor. Inside the dome was a fantastic and glorious world. Gyro guided the sub into the airlock. They all climbed out of the sub and passed through the airlock into the city. Interesting. Oh, this looks interesting. Scrooge ran ahead of the others. He saw glittering piles of gold all around. He rushed from one gold pile to another, shouting, "Gold! Genuine gold!" Suddenly, two burly ducks in uniform commanded, "Surrender all aliens!" "Surrender?" said Scrooge as the two guards yanked him away from a pile of gold. "Why do we have to surrender?" "Be quiet! You are now King Laud's prisoners," one guard said as he confiscated Scrooge's bag of gold. They were taken to King Laud's palace. Laud, not Lord. The king held up Scrooge's bag of gold. "You must have plenty more of this where you come from," he said to Scrooge. Scrooge refused to answer the king. "Very well," said King Laud. "Perhaps a little stay in prison will give you time to think of your answer." "Take them away," he ordered the guards. The guards led the explorers to the basement of the palace. They opened a heavy door and locked the crew in a gloomy prison cell. "Let me apologize for the rude welcome," said an elderly duck sitting in a corner of the cell. This never would have happened when I was the king of Atlantis." "You were the king of Atlantis?" Huey asked. "Yes," said the elderly duck. "My name is King Gladone." Then he told them the amazing history of this ancient city under the sea. "Thousands of years ago," King Gladone began, "Atlantis sank beneath the sea. Luckily, there were brilliant scientists who discovered a way to make artificial air by using pure gold and underwater elements. This machine here produces all the air for Atlantis. In order to maintain the air-making process, we Atlanteans must keep mining gold." King Gladone continued. "Only the king was trusted with the secret air-making formula. During my rule, a man named Laud captured me one night and hid me in this cell. The Atlanteans thought I was dead. Laud said that he had the air-making formula, so they named him king. Then evil times began for Atlantis. Now King Laud makes everyone work harder and harder searching for gold," King Gladone said sadly. "He wants more gold for himself to make gold crowns and jewels, and he leaves just enough so that we can keep breathing. But I refuse to give him the secret formula, which is why he keeps me alive. I'm the only person in the world who knows how to run this machine." "I wish we could help you," said Scrooge, "but there doesn't seem to be any way out of this place." "I know," said King Gladone, "but I'm afraid King Laud will soon use up all the gold and our city will be destroyed." Suddenly, Scrooge had an idea. "Maybe Gyro's spotlight on the sub can help us," he said. "But it's not really a spotlight, Uncle Scrooge," said Louie. "It's a laser." "Yes," said Scrooge, "but King Laud doesn't know that." Then Scrooge banged on the door and called to the guards. "Tell King Laud that I'm ready to get the gold he wants," Scrooge said. The guards relayed the message to King Laud, and then they returned for Scrooge. "You may go and get the gold," the guard said, "but the rest of your crew shall remain here as hostage until you return." Scrooge guided the sub out of the airlock. As soon as the sub was in the water, Scrooge switched on the laser. He aimed its penetrating beam on the giant dome over Atlantis. Zap, zap, the beam burned a hole in the dome. The dome is leaking, cried the Atlanteans. Everyone panicked and began to run away. King Lodge shouted orders as guards tried to stop the water from flooding the city. While the guards were busy repairing the leak, Scrooge sneaked the sub back into Atlantis. Scrooge dashed back to the prison. He found the key to the cell and opened the door, releasing Gyro and the nephews and a grateful King Glidone. Now we must capture King Laud and save the people of Atlantis, said Scrooge. Follow me, boys. As they walked toward the palace, the crowds went wild. Look, someone cried. It's King Glidone. He's alive. When all the Atlanteans saw their beloved former king, they cheered. Then they overpowered King Laud and his guards and threw them in prison. After making sure the leak was repaired, King Glidone mounted his gold throne. How can I ever thank you? He asked Scrooge. With big grins, Scrooge looked at the piles of gold nearby. Oh, I'm sorry, Scrooge, said King Glidone, but we need all our gold in order to keep breathing. You understand this, don't you? Scrooge nodded his head as his own bag of gold was returned to him. Back in Duckburg, Scrooge stared at his sack of gold. This is all I have to show for all that trouble, and it's all the gold I already had. But we did have an exciting adventure, Uncle Scrooge, said Dewey. We rescued the people of Atlantis from King Laud, added Huey. We certainly did, Scrooge agreed. That's the best reward ever. I like that story. That was nice. Yeah, DuckTales, woo! It's Friday. Nothing too exciting here, just working, doing grown-up work. Learning. Yeah. I hope you guys are doing well and having a great Friday. Do you guys like ducks? Do you guys like birds? If you like ducks or birds, tell me what your favorite bird or duck is. My favorite bird is probably the meadowlark, which also is the bird of Oregon, like the state bird. I don't see too many of them up here, really, because I think they like to hang out more in, like, the deserty areas, but they're really pretty. They have some yellow on them and some brown, mostly yellow. They're really cute, and they're like they're small, kind of like sparrows. But that's my favorite bird in Oregon, locally. There's a lot of other birds I like in other states, but I can't remember the names. Cardinals are really cool. I had never seen a cardinal in real life until I went to North Carolina, and that was awesome. I actually really like North Carolina. I want to go back again sometime. It's a very beautiful state. Yep. Yeah. So I hope you guys have a great Friday. I'm taking the weekend off from reading books. And I'll be back on Monday. So I love you guys. I'll see you on Monday. Mwah.